Greetings fellow mammals. As announced, we are looking at the MP28 today. This is a DMR style sidearm you unlock at level 17. I use this setup, but honestly, I don't really ever use this thing. I haven't even played it up to tier 1 yet, and fittingly its current placement is C tier. But is that just my bias? Is it actually objectively better, or maybe even worse? Let's find out. Another weapon with just two ammo types, standard and subsonic. As you can see, subsonic is, once again, just a bad version of standard. But I have to point out that this lack of performance only kicks in at 100 meters. And therefore I genuinely have to ask, what in God's name are you doing shooting people with your sidearm beyond 100 meters, huh? Come on now. This is not the revolver. So for the range where it actually does make sense to shoot at people with this thing, both ammo types perform exactly the same. So we have to take a look at the magazines themselves to figure out what we are going to pick. Almost a tradition at this point. So what do we have? For standard we can choose from 11, 16 or a 26 round option. And for subsonic we only get one small 11 rounder. Also seems familiar by now, huh? So we are gonna pick standard. The big one, the middle one, and then subsonic for some versatility. What about the barrel? Any recoil we have to worry about? Actually yes, this weapon is quite jumpy. I tried every barrel attachment during the preparation for this guide and I came to a conclusion I almost never come to. But on this weapon the Warhawk compensator is by far the best choice. Surprisingly. You need to spam fire at close range to be even slightly competitive with primaries. That means a lot of recoil, and the Warhawk can help with that. At the same time, the spread increase it also comes with is irrelevant at those ranges. But what about longer ranges? Well, at those distances you can't spam your shots anymore, because you won't hit anything. You have to time them and place them with a bit more thought, and that means you are shooting at a pace where spread can come down enough between shots so that the Warhawk, again, does not create any problems. As I said, I was really surprised once I got to this thing while recording background gameplay. It immediately made the gun feel so much better to use. And you can actually use the suppressor on this sidearm too, because it only lowers the bullet to kill beyond 75 meters. So in contrast to its name, the performance reduction is not all that scary. But I still think you will need the recoil reduction more. And another thing that immediately made it feel much better to use was the XDR Holo. I know, there is a normal red dot here too, but I tried all of the scopes and there is a lot of shaking going on. But with this scope it was actually much better. And if you want a bit more zoom you can use the 2x scope. I prefer this one over the other because on that one the reticle is just a free stack of black arrows, which is very hard to track once you really start spamming. That did not happen with this 2x sight for me, but try them out yourself, see if you feel the same. Last arm of the plus menu. Well, I'll be damned. No master key, what a shame. Well, I guess in that case we have to make do with the laser, which by the way lifts the already extremely good hipfire of this gun onto just ridiculous levels. And of course we cannot forget about flashy in the passenger seat. That's the loadout. Now let me tell you about my journey. Right now this weapon sits in C tier. When I played the first match for my preparation it was absolutely miserable. Yeah, downright depressing you could say. I even thought about just putting duck hunt clips in here instead. That was definitely the worst time I had recording so far. At the end of the second game I had decided on the XDR Holo side. So during game number 3 I was already having a slightly less awful time. Then in the middle of game 4 I finally reached the Warhawk compensator. And boy was that an improvement. Game 5 was starting to become bearable. I had my loadout decided by that point and I was starting to adjust my gameplay flow to this thing. And by game 6 I was actually starting to feel a hint of fun. What I'm trying to say is, for the first 2 games I wanted to rank it down to D tier if not lower. During the 2 middle games I figured C tier is probably still fitting, and during the last 2 games I realized this might actually need to move up to B tier. So what did I do? Well, I played 2 more games and this time I was actually genuinely just having fun. So I changed my decision once more. The MP28 will rank up to A tier. I really have to bring this point home. Despite the rough start, in the end I enjoyed this more than the G57. Not S tier levels of more, but certainly more. And it was quite surprising how good I could hold up against primary players. And another fun thing is the goddamn headshots. This thing has a 2x headshot multiplier. That means it can 2-shot to the head for 30 30 meters. It does not happen a lot, at least with my aiming skills, but when it happens, it just feels so nasty. At this point, I would actually consider using this as my main sidearm now. I never thought I'd ever say that, but it does need some getting used to. If you are starting out with this good loadout, that phase should be a lot more comfortable than what I had to go through though. The only thing that stops this from becoming my main sidearm is a different one that just fits my playstyle even better. I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about already. But again, I have to emphasize, I was really surprised how good this worked out in the end. I just wish the subsonic magazine was bigger. Maybe a 16 round option could be a nice compromise for a future buff. But that's it for today. Give this Redemption Arc episode a like if you enjoyed it, and if you don't want to miss the next episode where we will dissect the PP29, the ultimate weapon for players who have TV in their name, then you better subscribe. Until tomorrow, I will see you on the battlefield. Sorrow out.